Well, former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown is also in America at the moment. He's giving a speech in Texas on the Ukraine war. I spoke to him exclusively just before we came on air. Gordon, these are very serious times. We're facing the first anniversary tomorrow of the Ukraine war, of Putin's barbaric invasion of Ukraine. What is your reading of where we are in the war, first of all?
Well, I think we've got to, first of all, salute the courage of the Ukrainian people. Lives, buildings have all been destroyed, but the spirit of the Ukrainian people has been indestructible. Hearts have been broken, but I think their courage has been unbreakable. So I think the first thing we've got to say is that, unexpected perhaps a year ago, is the sheer resilience and the willingness to fight back, as we've seen with President Zelensky, but all the Ukrainian people. And the second thing I think is clear is that the unity of the West has been maintained. So America and Europe and NATO, adding Sweden and Finland, have been working together. NATO unity, of course, there's big issues about fighter jets and big issues about tanks, but the unity has held. I think the worrying thing is that the rest of the world has not woken up to the seriousness of the aggression that is being practiced by Putin. We've got to persuade the rest of the world that this is a turning point. If we do not support the Ukrainian people against the Putin assault, then people will think that they can practice aggression with impunity. And that's why I'm wanting Putin to be brought to justice. That's why I favour a special tribunal. That's why the ICC, the International Criminal Court, will not be able to do the job, because it cannot try the crime of aggression against Ukraine. But we can all get together, like at Nuremberg, and have a special tribunal where Putin and his cabal would be brought to trial.
We're both in America. You're in Texas, I'm in New York. A lot of that decision-making will depend on America's support. Do you think that President Biden will go along with what you would like to do?
Well, I think it's been remarkable that President Biden has visited Ukraine this week, and I think he should be congratulated. I know you did in your columns and in your television interviews say that this was a very special thing that Biden did a year on, and I think it's important that he sent that message both to the Ukrainian people and to the rest of Europe, that he was 100% behind President Zelensky and what he was trying to do. But you know, the whole of Europe, the European Parliament, the European Union, the Council of Europe, the Nordic countries, the Baltic countries, France, perhaps reluctantly to start, Germany, perhaps reluctantly to start, now the United Kingdom, they've all said a special tribunal should be set up. The exception is still America. You cannot allow the crime of aggression in the modern world to go with impunity. You cannot send out a message that there's a safe haven for those who practice this. You cannot allow there to be a hiding place for criminals like Putin. And whatever is to happen in the future, it is absolutely clear that you can prove that the crime of aggression was initiated and practiced, continues to be practiced. And of course, the innocent civilians, rape, mutilation, all the torture that has been carried out by Russian soldiers, that arises from the foundational crime, the crime of aggression, the one that was brought for the Nazi war criminals in 1946, and the one that is relevant as a crime to be prosecuted today. So America, I hope, will come along with Europe. Europe has gone with America on so many issues. America, I think, and President Biden should use Friday, should use the day to say, look, this is the time when we'll add the judicial action to everything else that we're doing.
You had an extraordinary first encounter with Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin when you were the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the UK government, 2006. And it was quite chilling, actually, when you recounted what happened there, because he made you sit in a smaller chair so that you had to look up at him. And then he started reading you out all this information about yourself, almost in a way to say, I know about you, I know where you live, buddy, kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was the old KGB agent. And as you know, Putin is a small man. He sits at a desk above you, you're in a settee, and you're sort of sinking into that settee, so you've got no choice but to look up at him. And he's issuing threats. You know, we're going to sell our oil to the east and not to the west. Gas will never come to Europe if you don't do what we say. And of course, later, if you have an expansion of NATO, there's going to be retaliation. What I understood immediately, now some people thought you could do business with Putin. I never thought that. What I understood immediately was that this guy, all he understands is strength. He'll exploit any weakness, totally opportunist in doing so. And you've got to send out a message of strength, and it's got to be united in the way that you convey that message. And we had to deal with Litvinenko's assassination, as you know, on the streets of London. We knew Putin was planning further assassinations. We had to send a very strong message that we would retaliate and we would not allow this to happen. We gave 24-hour protection to lots of citizens that we knew were being targeted for assassination. He was going to send other killers into the country. And it was only 10 years later, I think, when the guard had dropped, we had been protecting people, the guard had dropped, that we saw the Salisbury killings taking place. I am in no doubt that you cannot trust Putin. He is not a man of his word, that he only understands strength, and it's strength that we've got to show. Now, it's strength we've got to show by unity. You know he's making deals with other countries to sell his oil. 50% of his oil is now going to China and to India. You know that also there's a naval exercise at the moment in South Africa, South African forces, Chinese forces and Russian forces. The way that he is trying to build Iran, they're trying to build Syria, trying to build support with other countries, is something that we've got to counter.